Today is the 31st of May. I wish I'd brought the lapel mic for this thing. I don't fancy carrying it around close to my mouth like this. I would have just liked to put it in a pocket anyway. It's the 31st of May, very last day of May. It's Sunday. Tomorrow's a bank holiday, Monday. We are open for business on Wednesday. So Tuesday is the preparation day. After all this time off, we're finally going back. Tuesday we have to do the shopping, have to order the stuff from Preno. Flo's going to Moscone to get all the cleaning products, masks, and we begin Wednesday. I think it'll be a psychologically healthy thing to get back, because as time's gone by, I've really had moments of struggling, to say the least. For instance, we were in Maraval the last few days. We went, where did we go? It's hard to keep track of days. We went maybe Wednesday, came back yesterday, Saturday. We were there for 3-4 days. One of the days at lunchtime, I came down from the bedroom and was going to eat this omelette, and then I sat down at the table, not really, obviously not hungry, and the first thing that comes up is somebody, I think it's Flo's dad, trying to talk in English, and he says, I forgot all my English. And then Flo immediately says, well, it doesn't matter because Eddie doesn't have any French. And that comes up over and over in Maraval. You meet people and they say, oh, there's no excuse. If I was talking to Flo now, she'd be saying, yep, there is no excuse, they're all right. You should be fluent. There's no I don't want to sound like a baby, and saying, but there's just no dropping that subject. There's no accepting the fact that I am the way I am, that it is the way it is. I guess that's the best way to put it. That it is the way it is, and as I'm here, it's highly unlikely I'm going to change into some person that's going to just start going out and chatting away to everybody, learning French. It's highly unlikely that I'm going to find some kind of fantastic course here and I'm going to fit it in with the Connemara timetable. There isn't an acceptance of, well, he knows a bit so he can talk a little bit. It just keeps coming up again and again, and it's anyway, that afternoon I just I left the table and went outside and just walked around. It's very easy in Maraval to get lost, which is a great thing. You just go around the back of the swimming pool and you can kind of sit down in the shade, and it's like being well hidden, if you just need to get away for a minute. And just sitting there, I just felt awful. Like there's been that depth of bad feelings before. I always remember the one coming back from a meeting sometime and being driven by Simon and getting home, and Flo was away in Maraval, ironically, and I was on my own, I think, and I don't know what, this dark cloud came over me, and I spent most of the evening sitting beside the radiator in the computer room, and it was just really heavy. And this was the same. It was a kind of depressed state that it almost felt like being physically sick. Almost felt like one of the dreadful hangovers from the past, when things are kind of spinning around and you're feeling like you're about to faint. It was just terrible. It was thinking of the present, and then more so thinking of the future. Thinking of the not constant, but it seems ever increasing length of irritating spells that me and Flo have. Without any kind of light on the horizon, if you know what I mean. That even this morning I got up late, my dreams are all over the place because of the excess sleeping, and so they're bizarre kind of dreams. I've dreamt a few times that Flo's been with other people. She's with other men. And just bizarre dreams that when you wake up you're disturbed, you know, you don't feel rested, you just feel just disturbed. And then I got up this morning, 2 o'clock, when I got out of bed, and the first thing Flo says is, "Oh, you're getting up already?" And she's in a terrible mood, and we just can't talk about it. There's nothing I can say. I'm in a bad mood myself. It's not just her. But she tends to kind of aim some of her venom at me. So she'll say things, and she doesn't even, she'll say, not stimulated by, at least when I'm aware with someone to talk to in Maraval. Here it's just you. It's just you, and you're really, more or less, you're the most uninteresting, boring person. There's no stimulus from you. You have no idea to do anything. Then she says, I don't mean anything, it's just, but still, it doesn't make you feel. I think some of the dreams are probably running along that lines of, she finds somebody, like one of those windsurfer guys, that's just got lots of vitality. I think, and I'm not being big-headed or pretentious, but the kind of depth I've got is it's a psychological depth. It's about the condition of life and everything else, and that's all very interesting, but it translates to deadly dull and boring to an active person. And then women, I think in general, they prefer just the life of small talk, the life of hope and yoga and meditation and reflexology and Reiki and all these wonderful theories, great theories, spiritual theories, and that's what they want to talk about, and their lives and the kids, and it's all, for someone like me, it's okay, but it's all kind of on the surface level. It's all quite shallow, but for them it's what they need, for most people. And if I could find a person that was able to engage, with the joyousness in the kind of daily mundane things, and someone that really had unquestionable faith in all the stuff that she has, like all the yoga, all the ideas about meditation, and all the, this metal bracelet is made of copper, so it's definitely, you don't have to have any proof of anything. If this guy says this, it has to be true. If people in India don't have this, it has to be true. It's a simplistic thing. But if she had someone who just took all these things and was as passionate about them all as she was, and also loved to travel and loved to do some other things, and had 20 ideas for things to do every day, I can't help but think she'd be happier. Got no kids, she's got plenty of free time to do things. That's a bit of venting. But on my own side, and I know Flo's been depressed too, for me it's been I don't know how many, I've said this a few times with the vlogs, and it's getting perhaps to the end with the return to work. But I have been very down sometimes. It's kind of like a feeling of being suffocated slightly. I can understand how people could slip into panic attacks. So this particular walk on this Sunday, 3 o'clock, 31st of May, is very, very much appreciated. Maraval was quite nice most of the time. I think I kind of envy certain people that seem to have things. Well, their future probably seems a little more optimistic. Although who knows, I can't get inside anyone's head. Nico and Olivia, especially Olivia, a job like this, he's earning good money. Seems to be able to work from home and stuff. He's got friends and family all around. He's single, so he can go out and meet wherever he wants. He's physically very fit. Yeah, I envy him. It's true what Flo said. She said there's no one around here very much to talk to, but for me it's like you kind of multiply that by a few figures. The big question is, you need graphs and statistics to answer this big question, but am I still simply involved in some kind of very normal, regular cycle of moods? And this is just really nothing new at all. Last few days you feel down, you feel nervous about the future, anxious, blah blah blah. Like you said, you talked about that episode with Simon. I mean, that was years ago. So, is it just a normal routine cycle and nothing to be worried about? Or is it some kind of progression? That would be problematic. We don't want it to be progressive. I'd be able to play this back, actually. I always wondered if could I have a good way of checking moods. There's certainly a way when I listen to these audio things, if I keep doing them each day. Mind you, I don't know how you listen to them all back. It's too there's not enough hours in the day to go through all my vlogs, but as you were listening, if you had some kind of a calendar or something, you go through them all at some point in the future and you just put an X in something whenever the mood is up or down. That would be quite scientific on my own self to see, well, we've just gone through the first 3 weeks of April and he seems to be quite jolly and quite into his games, but the last week of April and the first week of May, very down. But then the next 4 weeks back to normal. Maybe you could find some kind of a cycle. But I'm quite happy to get out. Flo said she's bored and not stimulated to be, and when she gets back to work it'll be something. It raised the question in my mind, which I didn't bring up with her, just how challenging it is to resurrect your own spirit without any help. I mean, maybe you could, if Flo made the effort to go and see those two people, let's say she may get out of the down a little bit, and that could be one way, by you use your own initiative to change your mood. But me, I've always been more on the individual level. What can I do myself without any help from anybody else? But how can I, through my own faculty, change my own state? Physician, heal thyself. That kind of thing, you know. How can I heal myself? When I think about my brother-in-law, it certainly goes a long way to changing the state. When I add the past to it, and I realize that, this isn't really new. There may be different levels of it and whatnot, but come on. There's nothing new about you having anxious thoughts about your future. Going on for a decade, maybe even decades. So, sometimes the healing occurs on its own. But sometimes I can trigger some stuff myself. I know this walk in nature, even though I'm not really, I'm not in a meditative mood or anything, but I still believe nature can do its thing. But this walk should certainly help. And then it happens. I said something when I was feeling really bad in Maraval. Ooh, nice dragonfly just passed, red one. As I was sitting down, feeling bad, I kind of said to myself, isn't this wonderful? He's in the progressive period, if you like. It's not a comfortable place to be, but this is where one contemplates things and one grows. One can have a change. One can have almost like a promotion. One goes through this and comes out with something new at the other end. A new stronger sense of one day at a time, or a new stronger sense of surrendering. And there was a flash of the mood being positive. So sometimes when you try and look at these things in a different way, change your attitude toward a given state. The other thing I was going to say, I almost forgot this, was that very, very shortly after that episode of hiding in the garden and everything, I just snapped out of it very, very quickly. I came back. I think I made some coffee, and maybe this was an hour later, and the omelette was there and it was cold, and I took a slice and started eating it, and I showed Flo's mom. I said, "Wow, it's a nice omelette." And for whatever reason, the kind of black state had just kind of disappeared, and I was feeling fine again. Feeling fine. Couldn't say why. But that mood in the garden is probably one of those ones that will stick, especially now that I'm talking about it a few days later. If one can take these moods and firstly try and see them in some kind of a positive light, that you're bringing something forth from your own depth, that by these moods you're gaining some strength. And also, and just as important, is that you just hang on in there, because you know from bringing time to this, bringing your experience, that these moods can disappear in a flash, and that a few minutes later you can find yourself listening to a piece of music and feeling as powerful as a god. You know, that's happened. You've got so many examples from your past. You feel down and it just disappears. You put on the right song at the right time and you just feel such a powerful vitality in yourself that you almost say, well, if this is why I had to feel down so that I could feel this kind of acceleration, then it's all worth it. Life itself, what will become. There is a kind of irritation at the thoughts, because I look at Flo's mum and dad, and I look at me and Flo, and I can't really be 100% objective with myself. I'd like to think I've moved on from certain things, surely, alcohol being one, but I'd like to think that the vicious circles of the mind can be broken. That, like Bowie said one time, when you get a bit older and you go a little higher up the hill, you know, you see things from a different vantage point. And as long as we're progressing, I'm kind of happy. And sometimes me and Flo have conversations where it really feels like we're progressing. But then there are other times when it's Flo is in the dynamic and doing all the, like in Maraval with language. It's the same stuff that I've been hearing for over 10 years. And I think the worst part of it is when I look at those parents and some of their dynamic, I think, this is never going to stop. Ever. You could both live to be in your 80s like Flo's parents, and Flo will still be going on about this. She'll still be bringing up the same usual suspects over and over. She'll still be blaming you for a miserable state of mind, or for her life. That thought that's tough to think on. There's just evidence and a bit of intuition in me that she's just never going to come out of that. She's never going to get on top of it. There's also been evidence from her that women are very different in certain ways. Like I kind of said, I don't know anyone understood me. Women are just not psychological. They don't really think deep about anything. Although there's not a lot of men that would go into depth in psychology and Jung and all that kind of stuff either. I guess it's a kind of an acquired taste. Nothing wrong with that. Because these kind of interests in psychology and depth, they don't necessarily make you a happier person. The gregarious, happy-go-lucky guy is definitely to be admired and envied. Someone who hasn't a deep thought in his mind or her mind, you'll probably get along a lot better. That repetition of this thing over and over, that to me is kind of the worst. There's also the thought, it's been around for quite a while I suppose, the thought that Flo would be just simply better without me. I wish I could get some kind of an independent job, earn some money, because then I could try something like that, get my own place, see how that would go. I thought for a long time I could help Flo and her moods. I thought I had at least a lot of the answers, and that my whole line of work in a way was dealing with those problems. But it didn't turn out like that. There's a respect for each other, but if you can call a spade, there's not a lot more. I wish there was, but I think it says something when I know I like my walks, but I like getting the walk to get away in my own space, and I'm pretty sure Flo likes me to go for a walk. So I'm just out of her space. It's kind of bad when you're with someone and each person at their most relaxed when they're not in the same room with the other one. It does kind of feel like that. I think in Marival Flow is quite happy that I'm going to stay in bed all morning because I'm just not around and she can chat to her folks and stuff. And I think when I go for a walk she's quite happy. I'm quite happy. And then in the evening, same thing. I think we're both quite happy to be in our own space, doing our own thing. The other day I was thinking, it isn't beyond the realms of possibility that I would not meet somebody else and start to feel feelings that I just have almost forgotten what they're like, almost forgotten they exist. Being with someone is kind of like a clean slate because you just met and there's all kinds of interest. Let's say first of all the girl speaks fluent English. She's really into young. And I start to feel things I haven't felt in years. I say the same for Flo. Not beyond the realms that she could meet someone. Fucking difficult here, I know. In this little... But she could meet someone who does yoga straight away, Someone who does yoga, someone who knows all that stuff. Someone who's a huge fan of all the techniques, someone who believes completely in everything that she does. Do yoga together. And when they sleep together, it all works beautifully. Everything just clicks. And so she trusts the guy. They've known each other for a few months and then he goes, let's go back to India. I've been there already, I'll show you everything. We go to the ashram. It's like a fucking dream come true. I like the way I can't help but swear in the middle of it. There's obviously a frustration there. There's a frustration that couldn't have been me. I was the right type for a while, I think. But I don't think we were... I used to think we were soulmates. Maybe our time just ran out. Because now, as I was saying before about vicious circles and stuff, but I don't think we've got control of it anymore. Me either. I get very vexed and lose my temper, really, really quickly for someone like me that's supposed to be able to think things through. And so things that happen, it's like we don't have any control over them. We could both walk into the house at home, we could both say, whatever happens in the next 2 hours, we're not going to argue, we're not going to go over the usual territory, and we're not going to bring up the usual suspects. None of that's going to happen. Within 10 minutes, it happens. It's like some supernatural power is just calling the shots. It's like we're two of those puppets on strings, Or two fucking characters in a role-playing game, like the ones I play, Red Dead Redemption and such. And you think you've got full autonomy, but you're being played like a fucking fiddle all the time. It's like that. It's a bit like I have not even a little bit of faith that our situation can be resolved in any way. I don't even have any faith that it's ever going to get any better. It's just going only get worse. And I mean, it's at the point now where, like I say, we seem to be happiest when we're apart. Unless we're apart for a long time. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. That was really true. I went to Ireland a few years ago and I was there a week before she came over. And then as she was coming over, I couldn't wait to see her. That's something I haven't thought about. It's a big test. You stay apart from someone for a couple of weeks and see what happens. Of course, there is a codependency thing thrown into the middle of all this, so you may think you really need someone in the same way you think you need a whiskey. But like I was saying about me and about Flo, maybe we will both experience those feelings again. That I pretty thought were extinct from me anyway. So that's how it is. 31st of May, Sunday. It would be great to listen to what I'm going to sound like on Thursday, the 4th of June, let's say, or Friday after we've opened up and everything. I do another one of these. Am I going to be all chirper? Chirper? Is that the right word? Chipper? Am I going to sound optimistic? Am I going to say things are great between me and Flo now? Is it going to be like that? Some crazy fucking circle? Some crazy ride up and down? Roller coaster. The problem with all this is that you never know. Which mood should you go on? If I wanted to make decisions, motivate myself, is the questions I've asked myself, things I've said, are they correct in this mood? I mean, right now it feels like correctness. I'm not saying anything that's not evident. But then when you get into a really good mood, you can suddenly be thinking, well, everything's fine. Nothing needs to change. So, which is the right me? Which one should be followed? This one? Or the one who's very jovial and laughing, and Flo's laughing, and we're both joking around, and we're having a good moment, or we're deeply engaged in some subject, and then we think, yeah, it's fine. Why would we even contemplate being any different? I don't know the answer to that. I just know that you tend to follow whatever mood you're in. And if the agenda of that mood is everything's fine, then you don't do anything. And if the agenda of the mood is, you should really not give up on gaining some independence here. And you should not give up on magic. So, hey, start looking for some of those IT jobs that we were talking about. What Olivia was talking about. Maybe there is some kind of course, online or otherwise. Maybe something could come up. There's also bigger pictures. I mean, maybe something could come up on top of it. Don't give up. never give up on magic and miracles that can happen in the future. Because they're always there in your life to remind you. You know, a couple of years ago you would have never saw yourself walking around in France talking into a little digital device, that's for sure. A couple of years ago you never ever thought that you were not going to ever drink again. Or I'd say, to be dead honest and say, you haven't drank in 6 years. There was a time you never thought you'd get out prime time. There are lots of instances. It seems to be part of your personality or psyche that doesn't seem to be able to see very far into the future, or believe that things can be different. But like I say, look at the whole Crêperie Connemara business thing. I mean, that could not have been seen in the past, even when you were working in Deloitte's. I mean, that's something that really is just 11 or 12 years, and that before that there was not even the thought. And so, don't give up on the thought, the hope that you will get some kind of a job that you like in the future, that you won't be in this Connemara for much longer, that you will, I mean, just by gaining a job and some money, you will be a long way toward a certain independence, and Flo will be happier than you, the prospect of that, because you'll be able to set her free, perhaps, if that's the way it goes. You don't have to worry about that anymore. Get your own little place. You don't care what size it is, as long as there's just 2 fucking rooms and a toilet. You really don't care. As long as it's your own place. You have a job, you earn money, you pay the rent, you do what you want during the day. You let the days tick by like that, and you deal with everything that comes. And Flo's there, and you're there for her, obviously. You both remain as close as brothers and sisters, but something that has been holding you both captive has been cut. It's been cut. And so enjoy. And so the world opens up a little bit. Just thinking about that now, and that girl passed me and she says bonjour, and I think, you know, if I was in a place where people were all speaking a bit of English, it wouldn't be beyond me to talk to someone. Since I stopped drinking now, I could go to a cafe or bar and actually talk to someone without the need for 5 pints, without the madman. I'm mature enough to do it at last, but it's the fucking language that holds me back. Because although I could do this dreadful small talk, I just fucking hate small talk. It's the problem. So I'd rather not interact at all, rather than be like, ça va? Il fait beau aujourd'hui. C'est très chaud, no? It's like, fuck. I don't want to talk like a fucking monkey. I want to have some kind of a decent conversation. So ça va, yeah, but I mean really ça va. How are you? Are you winning or losing? You know, what's going on in a person's mind? It's just so hard to get kind of depth like that when you just don't have the confidence of the language. Like I've just said, there was a time when walking around in France did not seem possible. And running a restaurant seemed like not even in the mind, not even an aspiration. So I don't know the way things are going to unfold. I don't know the way things are going to unfold. So you gotta have faith. Next time Flo says I have no faith, I have to say I do. I do. I have faith in the future. Got to have faith in the future. Don't think this is going to keep going on like day after day, week after week. Like this lockdown. Although I'm aware enough to be able to say that the vast majority of the lockdown wasn't really that bad. I know this is a bad mood I'm in now, but I'm also not completely oblivious, and I haven't completely forgot. How could I with all these audio tapes? I haven't forgot January, February, March, April. The fact of the matter is, January and February were great months. I felt super high. I remember John in Marvel had said something about Capricorn and Jupiter's or something, and that Capricorns would start the year high. And I was, my God, I uploaded so many videos. So yeah, I'm not going to say that the first 4 months have been bad anyway. They've been great. So perhaps these downs are a little more impressive than they used to be. But again, giving it a positive spin, so to speak, they're a little more intense, but they also can kind of bring up perhaps a little more enlightenment. You're digging deeper. You dig deep enough, you're going to find something. You're going to find something. And that having faith in the future. Taking the past and the times when you thought, am I ever going to finish working in the video shop? Surrendering and believing.